Hey everybody, this is Peter with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to be taking a little bit of a closer look at the core set for Dragonbane from Free League Publishing. We recently did an unboxing for the set, but today we're going to go ahead and take a little bit closer look at all the different parts and talk about how well they're made or not made, and what we think about this set as compared to some of the other sets that Free League Publishing has put out and other companies are putting out for their role-playing games. So let's go ahead and go down to the table with Dragonbane from Free League Publishing. All right, everybody, so we are down to the table with the Dragonbane core set from Free League Publishing. This is their Mirth and Mayhem role-playing game. Like I said previously, we've done a video unboxing this set, but we're going to go ahead and take a closer look at it now. I'm going to read the back of the box for us again for those of you who have not seen the other video, and I will explain a little bit more through the back of the box here what this game is all about. It says, Dragonbane is a classic fantasy tabletop role-playing game full of magic, mystery, and adventure. It is designed from the ground up to facilitate fast and furious play with very little prep time and adventures that are a breeze to run. Dragonbane is a game with room for laughs at the table, while still offering brutal challenges for the adventurers, and this box core set includes rulebook with fast and effective D20 based game rules for character creation, skills, combat, magic, and travel. Adventures book with 11 complete adventures to be played separately or tied together in the epic Secret of the Dragon Emperor campaign. The booklet Alone in Deepfall Breach, letting you play Dragonbane solo. Huge full color map of the Misty Vale, illustrated playing cards for adventures, treasure, and more. 10 transparent polyhedral dice, including 2 custom D20s, 5 pre-generated characters, 5 blank character sheets, cardboard standees for characters and monsters, and double-sided battle map. I would tell you right away, one of the things that I absolutely love about this core set, cardboard standees for characters and monsters. That is not something that you see in a starter set normally, and Free League Publishing has a reputation for putting out fantastic starter sets or core sets for their games. They don't really call them starter sets because they literally have everything you need in them usually to play the full game. And this one is no different. Let's go ahead and get this box open here. And again, as you can see, I have already opened this set up because I did the unboxing already. My cards are floating around in here a little bit, but I am a huge fan of all of the sets that Free League has put out, and this one so far is no different. I am absolutely in love with the cards that they provide, the dice that they have created for this game, and again, those standees are absolutely amazing. So you can see there's just tons and tons of cards here. They're all sliding around. They're going to be all out of order. But let's talk about those real fast. Let's talk about some of the different cards. Now, let's get one out of the way real fast. Free League Publishing for a long time has been doing games where initiative is decided by card draws. They're not the first company to do it, but they have been doing it for most of their games. This is not going to be roll to see who goes first. You're going to take your initiative deck, you're going to flip them over, and everyone's going to get a randomly assigned initiative card, and that's going to decide where they fall in the initiative order for combat for those rounds. I like that. I think it's interesting. I think it's easy. It's a great way to do it, but it's not different. It's not new. So I thought we could talk about that real fast. The cards themselves, though, they make really heavy-duty cards. You could sleeve these if you wanted to, but they don't feel like they need it. They're not going to fall apart. They're not going to be bent super easily. I mean, obviously, if someone just wants to fold it over, they can. It's a card. But it's good stock. It's good card stock for making these cards. So I like their cards a lot. Initiative, again, it's been around. They're continuing to do it. Now, the other cards that they have here is the adventure cards. These I actually like quite a lot because, again, the game is meant to be played very quickly, very easily with very little prep. So if you were so inclined to, you could just get out your adventure cards. You could shuffle them up, and then you can just flip one over randomly. And that's deciding what adventure everyone is going on for that night. I think it's fun. You get a little brief paragraph here on the back of the card telling you what the adventure is going to be about. I'm not sure if I can get that to focus in. But it just says here, this side of the Iron Forest, there's an unholy place with huge stones rising into the sky. Ritter Mound, it's called, named after a dark knight who was chained by the gods when the world was young. They say he was buried alive in that mound, along with his family, his servants, and all his riches. And that's what you get. That's what your players get, as this is the adventure that you're about to go on. So you can shuffle these up. You can randomly pull one out, and that's your adventure for the night. Or if you want to, maybe let your players flip over 2 or 3 cards. They can read each one and decide which one they want to go on, which adventure is their adventure for the night. I think that's really fun. I love that they have given you this deck with all of the adventures. And again, these adventure cards are pointing to the adventure book that is here in the set. So you already have it. Everything's in here for you to run and to play. You have your treasure cards. Whenever you are handing out loot to your players, sometimes you might want to write it up on like a 3x5 index card, or something like that. But here freely goes the next step, and they give you the treasure, and they give you an image for the treasure. They tell you what it can do if it needs that. This one here just says it's armor or shield, and it's just it's cool. There's a little roll d6 table here that you can roll for it, and it just lets you know what kind of armor it is. So you roll on it, and if you roll a 1, you get a small shield. If you roll a 2, you get a large shield. 5, you get some studded leather. 6, you get chainmail. 4, great helm. 3, open helmet. Just some very interesting flavor there. You have a single card. You roll the d6. It could be one of 6 different things here for your player to have, but there's a card reminding them of what treasure they have. They don't have to write it down if they don't want to. They've got the card that's going to remind them. Same thing here. We get a master crafted weapon. Roll a d6. You get a dagger, a short sword, a battle axe, a broadsword, a heavy warhammer, or a long sword. So that is really cool. I like it. They've got treasure in here also for different things, from weapons to gold to jewels. And then they even have things like here, a silver brooch, and down at the bottom it says the value of it. It's rollable. It's not just a static number. You roll 2d6. It's 2d6 times 5, and that's how many silver coins the brooch is worth. I think that's fun too. So the player gets the card, and then you can let them roll to see what the value of the item is that they just got. So the treasure cards, the adventure cards, the initiative cards, trying to remember, and then the improvised weapons cards. These are a lot of fun. On the improvised weapon cards, down at the bottom on this side, they have what kind of environment you will find these improvised weapons in. So this one specifically says cave. Flipping this card over, then I will see what kind of improvised weapon I'm using. I'm using a stalagmite as my improvised weapon here. How cool is that? I got 3 bullet points. We've got shove an enemy within 2 meters into a tall rock formation on the cave floor. I've got the attack hits automatically and inflicts d6 bludgeoning damage plus damage bonus and knocks the enemy to the ground. And then the attack can be dodged but not parried. So information about using some improvised weapons in a cave. And that's not the only one. There's caves, and then there's inns. There's at least 3 or 4 different environments that they have these improvised weapons cards for. And again, I think the fun thing here is by creating these cards and giving them to you here in this core set, they're really kind of inviting the game master to create their own versions of these. Grow them. Just because they only give you a limited number of improvised weapons doesn't mean that's all the improvised weapons you could possibly use in this game. So you can create new treasure cards, you can create new improvised weapon cards, Now, the adventure cards, initiative cards, those are going to be pretty static at first, but eventually, if you write adventures, or maybe you go on to dmsguild.com, or not DMs Guild, Drive Through RPG, and you get some new adventures that you've purchased for this game, then maybe you create another adventure card for that specific adventure. So these are really cool. I think they're fantastic. I think out of all of them, though, I think my favorite might be the fact that the adventure cards point to the book, and you can just randomly assign an adventure for the evening, or also let the players choose between 2 or 3. Probably that, or the improvised weapons. The improvised weapons are a lot of fun. I think that's a really cool idea. So you get your normal like little one sheet here, just kind of getting you started, which is always nice, giving you a little intro to the game. And then you get your rules books. So the rules books, again, you get really great art on the cover from Johan Egertens, but then also you get some really great art as well from him here on the rules book. This is my favorite work of art, I think, from this entire game, at this point anyways, is the one that they used for the rules book. I love this. I was a huge fan of Darkwing Duck back in the day, and so this gives me very strong Darkwing Duck kind of vibes. The rule book, again, they make it's paperback, but it's very, very sturdy. This is not going to be falling apart on you anytime soon. It's still a pretty weighty book, even though it is only 112 pages, and that is because of the paper stock they chose to utilize for this rule book. So it's got some nice heft to it. It's very well made. And again, if you've purchased this from Freely Publishing, then you should have also received not just the physical set, but the PDF. So you'll have that to reference as well. But I absolutely am in love with the art for this game. It leans into that fun and mayhem that they were talking about at the front here. But just some really cool art style. It reminds me a lot, again, because it's the same illustrator, the same artist. I really love their Vesson game. But this, all of a sudden, it's got more pop to it, I think, than the Vesson game. The Vesson art is a little bit more muted in its color palette. And though this has a lot of greens and blacks in it, there's always that pop of color with each one of these little works of art. And the style is just very, very nuanced and interesting. I'm just a really big fan. This Manticore is super menacing. I like it a lot. So big fan of the books. The books are well made, like I said, not going to fall apart. Same stuff here for the adventures booklet. Again, you're going to have 11 different book adventures in here. And so whenever you pull out your card, you just jump right in. Each one opens with the situation that's happening. It's got maps throughout with all the locations numbered. That's going to be super helpful. And each one of these is fairly short. Again, they're not meant to be long. They're usually clocking in somewhere around 3 to 4 pages, maybe get into 5 pages with some of these. But they're not long. They're meant to be played in a single session, and they're meant to be able to be run pretty quickly. So once you sit down, you're going to be rolling dice pretty quickly. They've got their big map of the Misty Vale here. I think this is a very nice map, well done. Paper-wise, feels very much like the same that you're getting for the covers on these paperback rule books. It's very hefty, and then you get some really nice coloring to this map as well. Loving the edging work that they have for that. Now, something that is nice, it's nice that they put it in here, is the fact that you get your battle map. It's double-sided. It is not very big. It's just a single fold. It's just 2 pages, 2 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper together. Fold it out, use that as a single if you want to. Flip it over, you've got the dungeon side. Flip it over, you've got the forest side. It is not what I would say is a standout battle map, but it is nice that they provide it to you for your play. If you already have some battle mats out there, you're probably that are maybe a little bit nicer. You're probably not going to use this one a whole lot, but I'm not saying they shouldn't have put it in there. They definitely should have. It's fantastic that you can immediately sit down and you have a battle mat included. You don't need a Chessex mat. You don't need to draw anything out. It's just right there in the core set. So I'm glad that they provided it. I maybe would have liked it if it had been like this map of the Misty Vale, if it had been fourfold, if it had been bigger. I would have appreciated that maybe a little bit more. I don't know how much more that would have changed the cost of the product. So that would be my only nitpick there, is the battle mat maybe could have been double the size. If it had been double the size, I would have loved it a little bit more. All right, we have our pre-made character sheets. These are great, wonderful works of art to go with each one. These, since they're in the core set here, eventually for me, these are going to get laminated so that I can use them again and again, not worry about them starting to get a little worn down from use. And then you do have just some blank character sheets as well. They're double-sided, meaning you can get double the use out of them, because these are going to be ones that are going to probably be written on by your players. But at the same time, you could make copies of these if you need to, and usually Freely Publishing has free downloadable PDFs of their character sheets as well, so you could do that also. But all of that being said, we're getting to what I think makes this core set stand out over most other core sets, including Free League Publishing's other core sets. Again, all of their core sets have been really great. I've really enjoyed them. But this right here really blew me away. The fact that all of a sudden we're getting these really nice, really sturdy and thick standees for each of the creatures that are going to show up in the adventures that you're going to run. So if the character of the creature is mentioned in the adventures over here, you've got a standee for it. You're ready to put it on the table. You don't have to find a miniature that you might already own that looks similar or fits the style. Or if you're like me, half the time I just have these little colored chits that I put on the table, and hopefully they're at least the right size. They take up as much space as they need to on the battle mat. But the fact that the core set gives you your miniatures for your bad guys and your heroes is phenomenal. You are going to, I can think of this core set as being like the perfect thing to take to a convention or to a game night, because it has literally everything you need in it to play that game. You have adventures to play, you have the rules in order to play the game, you have your dice, you have your battle mat, you have your character sheets, you have cards that are going to help you, hand out treasure to the players, and you have the miniatures. If more starter sets, core sets would come out with the miniatures in this type of format, you've got your stands for them. They're ready to just be stood up on the battle mat that's provided. I think this right here has to make the Dragonbane starter set my favorite starter set put out by Free League Publishing to date. And again, I can't stress enough how nicely made these are. I mean, I don't know if you can hear the sound that it makes, but these aren't just little pieces of paper. They're not going to get torn up. They're not going to fall apart. I'm going to be able to use these standees time and time again. And probably not just for Dragonbane. I'm probably going to be able to use some of these for other games. I can drop a Manticore into any fantasy setting that I want to. A hill giant or a troll, I can drop that in. Dragons, giants, spiders, griffins, all of these things can show up in other games. But it's beautiful art too. That same Manticore that looks so intimidating in the rule book, now I have it as a miniature and it looks just as good as it did in the rule book. It's fantastic. So that is my in-depth look here at the core set for Dragonbane from Free League Publishing. I think that they have knocked this one as far out of the park as they've been able to do yet. They showed some supreme love, not just for the game, but for the people who are going to be playing the game. They have provided them everything they need to play this game. You're not going to read the rules and then sit down to start to play and have to go find something else in order to make the game work. Everything is literally right here. You've got all the rules. You've got more than enough adventures to play. You've got 11 adventures. You have 11 sessions of play with your friends just from this core set. And you know, Free League Publishing, they're going to be putting out more. It's going to be awesome. But these standees, I can't say enough. They make me supremely happy. There's 2 sheets there. Everything's double-sided. Free League Publishing, thank you so much for sending this over so that we could take a look at it, review it for other people out there. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, maybe subscribe to the channel. You can head over to freeleaguepublishing.com to order this set or any of their other fabulous games that they are putting out. You can also head over to tabletopgamingguild.com to learn a little bit more about us and what we're up to. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. And until we talk again, keep on playing games.